While he insisted that the ordeal was an unfortunate accident, investigators disagreed. He was later arrested and charged with first-degree murder, but a jury found him not guilty. I don't believe this was the correct charge for him. I believe that the prosecutors messed up when they decided to charge him with first-degree murder, because the police didn't arrest him on that. They arrested him on second-degree murder. But a jury found him not guilty. During his trial, prosecutors alleged that Alvin's motive for killing his wife was because he wanted to collect on insurance money. I don't believe that that was the initial reason. Alvin, I don't believe that was the initial reason why you killed your wife. I believe you killed your wife because you were trying to silence her. You were trying to silence her for some reason. And the insurance money would have been just a game. It would have been a game for you. During a jailhouse phone call, he reportedly spoke to someone about life insurance. You're speaking about life insurance, and you just killed your wife and admitted to it. What is somebody supposed to... Why is life insurance even on your fucking mind? This was your wife that you accidentally killed. You know, the one that you claimed that you loved. But you talking about insurance money so close to her death? It says, okay, so this is the sister speaking. The sister said, when I saw Alvin and Katrina, which is the husband and the wife, together, I could say they looked like they were loving. Looks can be deceiving. We should all know that by now. I would have never guessed anything different. Alvin was presented, keyword, Alvin was presented as being a good father to his 5 children. So the jurors didn't believe that he intentionally set out to murder his wife. However, Alvin was convicted of counts of child abuse and neglect in connection with the shooting. What about reckless discharge of a firearm or some shit like that? Like, the baby was in the room with the mother when he fired this gun. He was also found guilty of unlawfully firing a weapon and was sentenced to 16 months in jail. How does an ex-Marine, who they said was an expert shooter, not know that it is very inappropriate to fire or discharge their weapon in the vicinity of other people, where other people could get seriously hurt if the bullet hit them, whether it was by accident or what? How do you not know this? Why would that be the first thing that you go to in a heated argument? Is your gun? No, that wasn't the first thing. The first thing you did was pick up something and throw it. The second thing you did was go run and get a firearm. Go get a firearm to shut the argument down. But that could be considered a threat. If you go get a firearm and shoot it off in the air, that could be considered a threat. Why would you do that to your wife that you love? Why would you do that to her? You're not above threatening your wife with a firearm? No. No, no, and no. No. Absolutely not. There's more to this than this man is telling us. Believe that. It is more to this than this man is telling us. I'm still stuck on why the initial argument why the argument started in the first place. I'm still stuck on that. I'm really stuck on that because I feel like he was trying to silence her for some reason. That's what I feel like. This is crazy. This is so crazy. This is something else that I found interesting. Okay, so this is how everything started. It says it was a family gathering, like I said. Katrina's mom, Alice Cromwell, she said, we always celebrate our birthday together because her birthday is a week before mine. So the weekend before Thanksgiving in 2016, so November of 2016, Katrina Banks got everyone to Baltimore for 3 days of fun. This is how I knew that the trip was to Baltimore. The mom said we celebrated, had a birthday cookout with the family, and the family showed up. And then the sister says, technically, I wasn't even supposed to be there. I'm not a big communicator. But Katrina seemed to be one of those people who could always get the family together. It's interesting how neither the sister nor the mother says anything about Roxanne, the cousin. Nobody says anything about her except for the husband, Alvin. Like Diane, which is the sister of Katrina, she didn't say anything about Roxanne, the cousin. The mom didn't say anything about Roxanne, the cousin. The only person who said anything about Roxanne was Alvin. So I want to know, did any of the family members, investigators, prosecute, did anybody talk to Roxanne, the cousin? I'm just saying. And the sister says that at the end of the event, she told her sister how much she loved her. And then Katrina and her 2 kids headed back to Virginia. Don't y'all see how interesting this is, that Katrina and her kids came in one vehicle? The husband drove up in a separate vehicle. They came in separate vehicles. To me, that's already interesting. We're going on a family trip to be with family, but we taking separate vehicles. That's very interesting. That's interesting to me that they took separate vehicles. I wonder why that is. Does anybody know why the husband and the wife took separate vehicles to this event? It was just so much love, so much togetherness, and he was all attentive to her. That's what the sister said. I mean, it was just a loving family. He was so attentive to her when he got there, because they came separate. When he got there, he gave all his attention to. Of course, let me tell you something. People know how to put on the front. They know how to save face. They know how to make things seem what they're not, especially if they don't want anyone in their business, or especially if what's going on in the household is not something becoming, something that people would want to know. They know how to keep that shit away from you. And it's really sad, because I think that's what happened in this situation. But furthermore, Alvin Banks, a former Marine, was a very successful RV salesman in Richmond, Virginia. Katrina was a nurse who just earned her master's degree. The couple had a young son and daughter. To everyone who knew them, they seemed like a perfect couple. This shit right here, I hate this phrase. I cannot stand this phrase. A perfect couple doesn't exist. It does not exist. You can only attest to what you see with a couple. You can't attest to what you don't see with the couple. So you have to know it's 2 separate situations going on. What you see and what you don't see. What you know and what you don't know. And it's what you don't know that you can't attest to. So of course it can seem like that. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know where this came from. I think it's because I took that allergy medicine. Okay. So the sister thought that they were good. They seemed like a loving couple. Okay. So it says, at the hospital, At the hospital, Alvin tells detectives he mistakenly shot his wife. How do you mistakenly shoot your wife? I've never understood, how do you mistakenly shoot your wife? What do you mean by mistakenly? Are you trying to say it was a mistake because you intentionally pulled the trigger to fire your gun off, to blow bullets into the air, but you're saying that you had no idea where the bullets would go? And you knew you had a wife and kids in the house. How did you mistakenly shoot your wife? He's trying to say that he mistakenly shot his wife because he shot off in the air. He's making sure not to say he shot at her. He's saying that he shot off in the air. Like he has no, like it's not on him where the bullet goes. What? You're in a home. You're in a home. You're not at a bullet range, gun range. You're not outside shooting at animals. None of that. You're in a home, discharging a weapon. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what is going to happen. So why would you even do that in the first place? I don't care how heated I get at my significant other. If I had a gun in the home and I knew darn well me and my significant other were not on good terms, the worst thing that I could do, in my opinion, is make them feel unprotected or unsafe by going to get a gun and shooting it off in the air in a heated argument. I don't understand how that makes sense. This man is lying. And that is my opinion, that he's lying. He's being deceptive about the story that he's telling people. It says, why the blank you call her 7 times is what he told detectives in his interrogation. Why the blank you call her 7 times? Alvin says he just returned from Baltimore and was preparing dinner when his wife starts questioning him about phone calls he'd made to her cousin, Roxanne. See, this right here leads me to believe that if it's true what the husband is saying about Roxanne calling to ask about earrings, why doesn't he say whether or not why doesn't he say whether or not Katrina mentioned Roxanne calling her phone about the earrings? Or why does it say anything about the wife mentioning this? I'm confused because they were together. Roxanne, the cousin, accompanied them on the trip. Doesn't say whether Roxanne rode with the husband or rode with the wife or what. Maybe Roxanne just met them at the event, since it was a family event. I don't know. But this seems kind of strange to me that the cousin would reach out to the husband of her cousin. And we don't know whether or not this cousin reached out to Katrina. And if we do, nobody said anything. I want to know if this cousin reached out to Katrina. Or was it a situation where the cousin just was talking to the husband? Because that could completely change things. In my opinion, there's still more questions about this case that I feel like they didn't dive deep enough on this stuff. So he tells detectives, I'm like, where are you going with? He said, I'm like, where are you going with this? Where the fuck you think she going? If a wife is questioning her husband about why a woman is calling her multiple times, why a woman is calling him multiple times, and he's not being clear, about why some shit happened, or he's attempting to be deceptive, the wife is not going to let that go. She's going to keep probing because what you're saying doesn't make sense. Where are you going with this? As if you didn't know where she's going with it. Why is another woman calling your phone so much? And it would seem to me, if she's asking you this question, you and Roxanne don't talk like that. Or her and Roxanne don't talk like that. If she's asking you this question, Roxanne must not be that close. These are all things that I have questions about that I'm not understanding. The shit sound fishy to me, and I want to know where. Okay, I'm back. What did I just do? Okay, there we go. Sorry. All right, so it says, okay, so the cousin spent the night with the couple in the Baltimore hotel that weekend. After checking out, Alvin claims she called asking him about a missing pair of earrings. Now, if the cousin left her earrings or couldn't find her earrings, I understand that. But my question is, did the cousin speak to both of them, the wife and the husband, or did the cousin just call the husband about the missing pair of earrings? It says, she said, no, you call her 7 times. I'm like, Trina. Oh, okay, so this is why the wife said, no, you call her 7 times. It's because he said that the cousin called him to ask about the earrings from the hotel they were at. Because the cousin stayed with them at their hotel room. He's saying that the reason why, because he said that the wife says, why the blank did you call her 7 times? He tried to explain it off by saying she called him asking about a missing pair of earrings. And then the wife says, no, you call her 7 times. This is what I meant when I said whatever response or reply he gave to her when she initially asked why the blank you call her 7 times. Apparently the wife wasn't clear on that. Because after he said what he said in response to that, she said, no, you call her 7 times. So if you saying that she called you to ask you about a pair of earrings, you saying she called you 7 times to ask you about earrings? The way he tries to explain this off is by saying, I'm like Trina. I was driving back. We lost connection. She called me back. I called her back. And she kept pushing. And I was like, leave it alone. There's nothing going on. Because if I'm reading this the way I think that it went down, there's no wonder why the wife kept asking questions. It's because she was not clear from the response that the husband gave. I'm not even clear on that. Because if the cousin is saying that, all right, y'all, I'm back. So it says, he's like, I'm like Trina. I said, I was driving back. We lost connection. She called me back. I called her back. So what he was trying to say to, if this is what he really said, what he's trying to convey is that the reason why it was 7 times on his phone that he called the cousin Roxanne is because on his drive back home to Virginia from Baltimore, he's trying to say that they lost connection in the middle of the calls. So she kept trying to call him back, and he kept trying to call her back. That is what he is saying. And this is why I said it's important to look at those call logs to see if you need to pay attention to the time. If he indeed called her that many times, you should be able to tell whether or not it seemed like somebody might have been having a conversation, or if the call just connected but then disconnected. I mean, there's a way for you to tell that. And so my question is, did the Detectives do this. Did they look at her call logs? Did they look at his call logs? Did they talk to the cousin Roxanne? I mean, I don't know at this point. I don't know if she was ever spoken to, and they didn't say anything about the call logs. So the detective says, so basically this whole thing stemmed from her thinking that you were messing around on her. And then the husband, Alvin, says, oh my God, it's black crazy dude, Roxanne. All the women in the family are threatened by her. She's a beautiful woman. All the women in the family are threatened by her. Where did you get this information from? How do you know all the women in the family are threatened by her? Did she tell you this? Or is this something you came up with? And I also find it strange that you're speaking about this woman in a manner that you ain't even speaking about your wife in. In the same fucking conversation or in the same interview where you had just told police about everything that went down supposedly in the house with your wife. You gonna say that this Roxanne lady is threatened by all the women in her family because she's beautiful? All the women in the family are threatened by her. Did you tell the police this so that if they went to go and question Roxanne or went to go and question the other family members, that if the other family members gave some kind of distorted information about Roxanne, that you're giving them that justification as to why they would do that? Is that why you told the police that Roxanne threatens all the women in her family? All the women are threatened by Roxanne in the family? Is this why you told them that? So that if the police go and question the other family members and they have something to say that may be unbecoming of Miss Roxanne, you've already put it in their ear that they are threatened by her because she's beautiful? Are you crazy? I'm a little confused with this. But why are you talking about this lady in this manner? Like you're not even talking about your own wife this way. Up until this point, he hasn't said that he loved his wife, he adored his wife. He hasn't said none of this. Up until this point, he has not said any of this. Since he's been talking to the police, he hasn't said anything about that. It says Alvin insists he wasn't messing around with Roxanne. It says when he couldn't convince his wife, the fight got physical. Why are you trying to convince your wife? Why are you just not telling your wife the truth? I mean, because this is how I feel about this person. This is how I feel about Mr. Alvin. You're trying to convince your wife that you weren't messing around. But apparently, whatever you were saying, your wife was not in agreement with. If she felt the need to keep talking and asking questions, to continue with the conversation, it means that she was not in agreement with what you were telling her. And you begin to get upset and frustrated because she wasn't believing you. That's what I believe was happening. She wasn't believing anything you were saying, and that was frustrating you. Because then you said, the fight got physical. What do you mean the fight got physical? The fight got physical? I thought this was an argument. A verbal argument, okay? I thought this was an argument. The fight. What do you mean by, you need to go into context behind the fight? The fight got physical? Do you mean to say that the argument turned physical? Is that what you mean? Because that right there, what you said and what someone else may believe is different. The fight got physical. Up until now, you didn't mention a fight. The only thing we know is that y'all were having words back and forth. So what fight? Fight got physical. Who got, okay, physical as in, did somebody put their hands on somebody else? I mean, did you go into any detail about this physical? That's what I want to know. What do you mean the fight got physical? Okay, so he says, I picked up a TV tray. I threw it downstairs, making sure I didn't hit her. Bam, I was like, stop, you're pissing me off. What? What? You threw it in her direction, is what you mean. Because you said you threw it downstairs. And we know that the wife was in the basement. Which is where? Downstairs. Making sure you didn't hit her. That's bullshit. In my opinion, because the argument was escalating, and because you were not convincing your wife and it was frustrating you, your frustration seemed to grow. It intensified. If you then went from just being verbal to physically picking up an object and throwing it downstairs where you knew your wife was. Never mind the fact that you're trying to say that you made sure you didn't hear her. That's bullshit. You threw it in her direction because you were frustrated. That's obvious. You continue to get frustrated because the argument wasn't ending. You even said, stop, you're pissing me off, after you threw the chair. And then, because the yelling continued, he grabbed a gun. So nobody sees how this man is escalating his aggressiveness. He's escalating in his responses to her. Nobody sees that. They went from verbally having a disagreement to now we know for sure, because he said it, picking up a physical object. He picked up a physical object and threw it in her direction. So his pattern of behavior seems to be escalating it with this aggressiveness. And because he wasn't getting the result he wanted, he continued to escalate, which is why he went to grab his gun. I believe he threw the tray at her. I don't believe this bullshit that he threw it downstairs, making sure that, no, I believe he threw the chair at her in an attempt to make her stop. And then, like he said, because it didn't stop, now he got to take it a step further, and he went and grabbed the gun. It says, so I figured if I grab, this is the husband. So I figured if I grabbed my 45 and shot a couple rounds off in the air, then that would make her shut the F up. Now, mind you, I just pointed out how he was talking about this cousin, Roxanne. Keep that in mind. He was just talking about the cousin, Roxanne, how she's a beautiful woman and all the women in the family are threatened by her. Something ain't right with this situation. He said that about the cousin, and then later on, he gonna say he grabbed a 45 to shoot off rounds in the air to get her to shut her effing mouth. This man seems to be talking with frustration, irritability, or disdain for the wife because he wasn't getting the results that he wanted. His shit is escalating. He throws something physical at her and then he go get the gun in an attempt to stop the argument. Why you didn't just leave? Because this goes back to what I said earlier about I'm not so sure that his story is correct about where he said he fired the gun. Because he told police in the foyer, but apparently he fired some in her, where she was too, downstairs in the basement. So something's not adding up here. So you can walk and go get the gun in an attempt to end the conversation or the verbal altercation or whatever. But you can't walk your happy ass on out the door down the street to end the argument? You mean to tell me you couldn't leave the situation? If she wasn't stopping, why didn't you leave? If you didn't want to hear it anymore, you didn't have anything else to say. Why didn't you leave? Why did you go get a gun? Something's not right. Something ain't right